Welcome, everybody, to our wonderful open conversation this evening. I understand that it is spring in the Northern Hemisphere, so happy spring to all those people who are experiencing the new season and warmer weather, a bit more sunshine. In Australia, where I live, we're actually in autumn, so we're just moving out of the summer months. So we're moving towards winter, the colder months. And I love looking at the seasons and tuning into them and the different feelings that we have and the different practices that people have. I know that in the Northern Hemisphere, spring is associated with lots of, celebrations
Mm.
and enjoyment and people going out and really enjoying and embracing sunshine after a long, hard winter in some countries.
True.
So, anyway, having said that, my name is Anthea Alexander. I'm a wellness coach and I'm interested in lots and lots of things, actually, basically all things wellness. So, spiritually, mentally, physically. I do work as my occupation or vocation, calling, as a wellness coach, helping people with their mindset, with losing weight, gaining weight, maintaining weight, more energy if that's something that they're looking at. So if there's something, if those issues are something that you're interested in, or you know of friends or family who are looking for help in those areas, feel free to have a chat with me or refer them to me. I would love to have a talk with them and see if we're a fit to work together. And I'm also I wanted to share I also have special interests in emotional well-being and spirituality, and I have life experience in both of those areas, and I have actually worked voluntarily or a paid capacity in both of those areas as well. So I will hand it over to Sanji or Yogi Sanjivana to introduce himself, and then I can share a little bit more about our topic. So over to you for now,
True.
Sanji.
So thank you so much, Anthea. It's always a
Well,
great pleasure to be here. And your presence and the topics you select and all these things are fabulous. So I'm Sanji or Sanjivana. So my interest is also in spirituality. We always talk about our professions, no? Then, but yeah, I was thinking like when you say this. So yeah, and peace, happiness, these kind of things. I like to be in nature and with animals and people. So I like to be in silence also. That's a part of. And those days I remember I used to like when you were in far away places, or I could live in a hut with maybe a lantern or not even a lantern, and I would just listen to the rain maybe, and it was so soothing. And yeah, I can adapt to many places, many things also. And but I still like when there's like no electricity suddenly, and then there's like some lightning and raining, and yeah, I feel like very comfort. Even the smell of the earth, no, when it's first starting to rain and all that, it's a very fresh, like not to get wet with it or anything. No, but the smell soon as the water touches the earth, no, there's some nice smell coming from it. So. Yeah, so I think Anthea's topic. So this is like the second part. Anthea will surely talk about it. So we are trying to dig deep, and she had lot of facts last time. So we had idea like let's have part two of it, no? So and we surely will try to dig deeper into the subject today. So Anthea, I would like to hand it over to you.
okay. So thank you so much, Sanji, for introducing yourself. And I love what you were saying about spending time in nature and also spending time in silence. And I think there are two ways that we can really tune into ourselves, and we can really it really promotes healing within our beings. So yes, our topic, why are we here? So last week we talked about the concept of purpose, and we discussed a bit about why we felt that we're here. And it's certainly a personal issue. So we all have different ideas about why we're here. But I think there's some themes that link across different faiths and different cultures. And you're certainly welcome to review our replay of our event from last week. I haven't posted it. Oh, I have actually got it up on my YouTube channel, but I haven't shared it across social media, but I will do that in the next day or so. You're welcome to review that and to comment, give us any feedback. And if there's any topics that you would like us to discuss, feel free to let myself or Sanji know. We're certainly interested in doing that. And the whole purpose of these open conversation events or podcasts is about having a safe and sacred space to discuss really anything of importance or relevance. Because one of the reasons is because we're bombarded with social media, with so much information. We're overloaded with information, and a lot of it is
misinformation.
Misinformation. I was going to say questionable. I was going to be very diplomatic. Another word came into my head, but I wasn't going to say that. So what we are planning and intending to do is to create some beautiful, wholesome content that people can watch, join us either live for our calls, our Zoom calls, or alternatively to watch the replays, and we can leave them basically as a legacy. So hopefully to balance out the misinformation and in some quality information. I would say that from what Sanji and I share, it is quality information. And I'm not saying that either of us is perfect or that we know everything, but we have life experience from different areas, and and we're open to other people's views. So it's really an open space. Okay, so getting back to our topic of why are we here, we talked about a few different aspects last week. We talked about the different ways of looking at it. So from a spiritual point of view, from a psychological point of view, biological point of view, scientifically, astrologically, there's so many different lenses that we can look at through. And with the list of, as Sanji mentioned, I usually make a list of things I would like to discuss before the event. And we had left off some of the things that I was wanting to discuss. And what I would really love to touch upon this evening is, why are we here from an Islamic point of view? So people who may not know, I am a Muslim person and I converted to Islam 13 years ago. And that was following the tragic and sudden death of my husband. And I felt in a place where my heart was just shattered into 1,000 pieces. And I was really desperately looking for inner peace. And I basically explored and researched Islam. I had already been reading the Quran and listening to the Quran, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I had been raised as a Christian or a Catholic person, and I'd really loved going to church when I was younger. I loved singing in the choir. I loved praying. And then as I grew older, probably when I hit my early 20s, started questioning some of the beliefs that didn't really sit right with me. And then went along in my life and, lived, got married and bought a house and had various jobs and things like that. And then, when I was early 40s, that was when my husband died suddenly, and I was in a place where I was questioning a lot of things. And so I made the decision to become a Muslim person. So it is the last 10 days of Ramadan, so the holy month of Ramadan, when Muslim people celebrate, and a lot of people know that Muslim people fast. So I'd love to touch upon some of the ways that Muslim people work to get closer to God. So the month of Ramadan is actually about getting closer to God. And that, from an Islamic point of view, I believe is the main purpose of that Muslims understand of what our purpose is, to move closer to God and to please Him. So that's what I would love to talk about. And I'm not coming at this from a point of view that I think anybody else should convert to Islam.
Yeah.
It's a very personal choice. It was a choice that I made. It was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. However, I'm not a person that, I don't want to force anybody or push my beliefs on anybody. But as I was discussing with Sanji just before we started our conversation, I'm fascinated by what Sanji tells me about his experiences being a former Buddhist monk, being a person of Buddhist values and beliefs. And I'm also fascinated by anybody who talks about their faith, who from a sincere perspective, uh, or even their connection to Mother Nature. Anybody who's sincere and has good intentions, I'm more than happy to listen to what they've got to say. So I'm coming at this from an intention of sharing what my insights have been over the past 10 days or so, and finishing the rest of the month of Ramadan. So I'll hand it over to you, Sanji, and I'd love to hear your insights
Yeah.
and whether there's any other angles that you would like to discuss.
Okay, thank you, Anthea. Yeah,
You're
I
welcome.
remember like one ancient master asked, like, it's a very particular question. So he asked a student, like, so this is not a Buddhist thing even. So I really don't like the boxes. So I think they were enforced not by God or anybody, like people made the boxes and the labels, and now it's categorized and see people argue and even fight over it. Even in the same religion, you can see, in some places, like it's the same religion, same God, but they take some ethnicity or something and they are even fighting and killing each other, which is a tragedy, no? And different religions, surely it had been happening for thousands of years, no?
Yes,
One people from one side goes to another part of the world, and then they try to conquer back again, forth, back and forth, back and forth. So you don't know what in the world they're fighting for, even just wasting people's lives, right? So,
yes,
and then I remember this teacher asked, like, the student, uh, like, are you eating? Uh, were you, how to say, born to eat, or are you eating because you were born? It's like it looks a bit similar. Uh, are you eating? Oh, so were you born to eat? Or are you eating because you were born? You can identify the differentiation, right?
yes,
So it's not just the food, no, like what we see from the eye, ears, nose, tongue, and body, and the sensory doors also. These are food for thought, right? So likewise, in Buddhism and all, actually, uh, the people later on categorized as Buddhists and then Buddhism. Huh? Usually the colonists call, and even in India now, they don't like to call it like Assam. The colonists, they put like ridiculous names for every place. Now you see in Australia or America, like same kind of names. Or they put a pigeon somebody's name, right? Such lady's pigeon. No, come on, right? That's not a pigeon, right? Because just she saw it. Maybe villagers saw for decades or hundreds of years, right? She's not the first being on earth to see this pigeon, right? So anyhow, that's how it goes. So then now in India also they say this is not, this is a philosophy. This is not a religion. Huh? So we don't want. So sometimes they might change it even. Even the name of the country they might change as Bharat, not India. So likewise, so you see, like in deep teachings, it connects in the levels and in different layers also. And it's like so. For example, Buddha said, like, even if I'm there or not, these dhammas or natures will be always there. And he said like he was a human being, right? And he said like, I cannot take you there. I'll show you the way. So likewise, nobody can do it for you, right? Some people assume no, but we have to take responsibility and do for what we do, right? So uh, then when you come to that point, like you imagine, no, like we also sometimes just eating, or we like to eat no food, no. Uh, then you think like, oh my gosh, as that story came, it's like I'm 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 how to say, like eating uh, because not because I'm born. Uh, it is like I am born to eat, right? So you indulge in your sensory dose, and you like swim in them and you get lost in track. And some people go to addictions and all these crazy things, and sometimes end up in jail or like even lose their lives. So this doesn't have any limitations, right? The other fact is like, okay, like if we are eating because we are born, just to sustain. Or sustain means like, and not to like overload or anything, right? The food we eat, as well as that's why you also know in nutrition, right? All this too much junk food and all, it will kill you, right? All these crazy oils and artificial stuff and all. It's tasty, it's fast, no? It's very like appealing, smell, taste, all these things, but you can end up in in like a very bad place, right? Very soon. So that's why all these good things are there now, right? So likewise, like we can see, and then there's a bigger cause in our lives. And this is in some places. This way in many ancient traditions also. That's why people are finding a recluse, or like thinking like in some places after 50 they used to go to the forest and never return even. At some places when they saw their first gray hair, or kings even, they used to say like, ask their personal barber, because it was very dangerous, no? The barber could do something for the king, so it had to be a very good person he had trusted, because they were using that real razors and all, right? And
Yeah.
then so he could have done anything, no?
Mm.
So what happens is like, the king used to entrust him in and tell, like, if you see my first gray hair, huh, like, please tell me. So it says he used to take it from a golden forceps and present it to the king, maybe on a platter. Soon as he saw that, he would just give it to his next in line, and he would just go. Huh? So that was like the system. And then even in average families also, they used to get married by 16 something, and then they would like have children and all the mature age, and usually at 50 they used to just go, handing everything back to everything to the children and all, and sometimes they would never even return. So it is like a quest, like you and like you mentioned, this what we think, it can be a mission, it can be a quest in life, no, to know like why we are here, right? Yeah, please add here.
Yes. So what I'm thinking, I always my brain and my thoughts are always provoked by what you say and short stories that you share and wisdom that you share. So what I'm thinking about is what you were saying about people indulging their senses. It really is a culture now where, and I'm talking about all of pretty much all of humanity. I mean, it's not
Mhm.
quite everybody, but a large proportion of humanity can basically get what they want when they want it. So they can say, right, I want this type of food, order it, it's delivered, provided they've got enough money for it. So it's very much a yes, yes, yes culture. And people don't tend to say no to themselves. And there is a value in saying no to ourselves, I believe. It can teach us quite a lot. And what I would love to share, I loved what you said, was saying about people getting to a certain age where they saw the king, the first grey hair. and then they would basically say, right, it's time for me to move on to another stage of my life, like a rite of passage, to be a recluse or a hermit or a wise person. I'm not quite sure what they might do, and
Sure, sure.
and that's like another purpose in life. And perhaps in life, like we have different purposes, and it changes. And I think you mentioned that last week as well. So with different life stages, our purpose changes. So what I was wanting to share, and I would also like to share that I learned that barbers also used to do surgery, apparently.
Some places, no?
Yeah. So with they've got the cutthroat razor. So of course you want to trust someone who's got a razor around your neck and your face. But in Australia and in I suppose the UK and perhaps other countries, they have like these poles that were associated with the barber, and there were different colors. And I can't think of the colors at the moment, but my understanding is that they symbolized that the barber was also a surgeon. So he would do I don't know what type of surgery. Anyway, might be beside the point, but I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they were
interesting.
very trusted people.
Okay.
So in terms of saying no to ourselves, so had a lot of insights about Ramadan. So I actually don't fast from food because I have a medical condition and I have received a concession from fasting. However, I am certainly watching my brothers and sisters in Islam fasting, and fasting is not only about not eating, it's about fasting from negative thoughts, from speaking negatively about other people. It's about fasting from avoiding intimate relationships, even when it's like usually it's fine with married partners. So during the time that the couples are fasting from basically sunrise to sunset, no intimate relations. So what it is it's about saying no to things that normally are permissible and perfectly okay to do. And in that way, it helps us to strengthen and like that sort of discipline within ourselves so that we can perhaps be more disciplined when we come out of that month of Ramadan, and we can say, well, yes, I'm going to, prioritize my worship. I'm going to really continue to move towards Allah through reciting the Quran or reading the Quran or listening to the Quran, through potentially other fasting, which can be done throughout the year, through my character, my good deeds, what else? Prayer. And so it's really about looking at those things that are not permissible during the fasting hours, and also sort of doing like a spiritual reset, and so that potentially we can come out of this month moving closer to God and continuing to move closer to God. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to share. So I'd love to hear your insights, what you would like to share.
Yeah, I also have Muslim friends and I really admire their practices. So there's like called Hamid and all. He's younger than us, but he tells me details and all. No, so they sleep early, they wake up early, they do prayers, and even the family like they all do that as a household. And they as a community they work and finish for the household chores and things like that. And everybody has like free time in the evening, and even them, like being now in the 20s and all, still they have to go to sleep early and wake up at about 4 a.m. or 5. By 5, they have to be prepared for the prayers. So, in a way, like you see a pattern, no? In some how to say cultures and all, this was called like the Brahma Murti. Uh, like from 3 or 4 right up to 5. So, it's considered a time like everything settles down, all the elements and all settles down. And in some traditions it says like this was the time that actually from the heavens deities and all used to come and visit. There are many things in many cultures and many places. And even fasting is like it's now they say like some honest people say like if you get cancer, the best thing is to fast for like water fasting for 10 days and see, because the body starts eating first the unnecessary stuff, right? Then maybe the fats and all. So all these lumps and things it will start consuming. So it's much more better than chemo and all this stuff, right? So if and it's not so painful and not so harmful even. So they say first fast and then remove all these kind of other toxins that we eat. All these practices, and there's a very big power. So in actually in those days, now they fake it. Even here they fake it. Politicians fake it, and they act like they are like fasting. Uh, and you can actually fast and make a very strong determination. Really, it really starts working. So there's a lot of power, and like you say, like intimacy and everything, they restrain from those things. No, in that period, in a way, it's true. No? Like God takes a lot of energy also, physically also. So in a way, so you can all like focus that to a higher energy source, right? Whichever the aim or place you want to be, right? So many places like even some they stop like within one day, and in some places they used to do like 3 times or 4 times a week. Uh, yeah, 4 times a week, and somebody would add like 2 more days, so it is like 12 days per month. Those days. Now I think it's rare and rare because people don't have much time. No, some people on the full moon day they do likewise. So fasting is, and actually they say like we are actually structured to adjust for one meal. uh, and if we like put meal on meal or snack, sure for sure, it's like just rotting in our guts, or abdomen. And another thing is it's like said like okay, if it takes one day, just it was told as a way of understanding. For it, if it takes one, actually in some places it says the energy of one meal stays for 7 days. Actually, 7 days. Huh? But this person told like uh, when we put it, it takes almost like one day to digest. So on top of that, when we put, it's like we are already living 2 days of our life. You understand, right? Because if it takes one day and if you put another meal on top of that, so we are consuming the energy that has to be digested, uh, and you can get sick. Like if you eat and suddenly take a shower, you feel your whole body goes like super cold, no? Because all that energy that was like going towards your abdomen, suddenly it's like a rush of things try to make your body warmer. Then you get stomach problems and all these things. So they always say like keep a gap before showering, even, right? You can shower before, even don't do exercises, they say, right? Soon as you eat. So yes, I think these are all very healthy practices and very wholesome, and everybody should try these things, no?
Thank you for sharing that information. And yeah, while you were discussing that, I know that there's different levels of fasting, and certainly Christian people. I have a friend who is an Orthodox Christian person from Bulgaria, and they fast from different types of food. So they might fast from dairy, from wheat, from meat, uh, going up to Easter. And I know that as growing up as a Catholic person, we would try make an effort not to eat meat on a Friday. So it would be like eating fish on a Friday or avoiding meat going up towards Easter, but some people would do it all year round as well. So, with different faiths and different cultures, there's different types of fasting. But what really interests me and fascinates me is that there's so many connections with different
Mm.
faiths and different
Yeah.
cultures. And as you said, like humanity, man, we have made up the boxes and the divisions and the boundaries because there's so many universal shared truths and intentions. So fasting is one of them. Having a good character is another.
Yeah.
Prayer, I think, is another one.
Mm.
What else did I write down on my list? Let me have a look
Meditation.
at my
Meditation.
meditation. Yeah, definitely.
Being with
Meditation,
nature, no?
being with nature, self-awareness, contemplation,
No. Kindness.
reflection, kindness,
Mm.
remembrance, association with good people. And I also added what you were saying about silence and isolation
Mm.
because I find that really fascinating. So in Islamic teachings and also Christian teachings, often the prophets or the messengers uh, spent time very much alone
Mm.
and were almost perhaps like hermits or outcasts, treated very badly. And during that alone time, they were able to connect with God in or Allah or whatever we
Mm.
might call a higher power, divine source, uh, in a clearer way because of that silence and that isolation. And I certainly know that for my character, I really benefit from, I love people, I love engaging with
Mm.
people and talking with them, but I also really enjoy daily quiet time to reflect.
Mm.
And I've spent a lot of time over the past years, probably about the past 6 years, a lot of time by myself. And it's challenging in a way, but I feel that it really allows me to have a closer connection to God. So, yeah, I would love to hear whatever you have to say now.
Yeah, in a way, they think they do, like, for example, somebody's having a jail sentence, they keep them in isolation in a way for them to rethink, it seems. But I don't know whether it's 100% working or what is the situation there. But the idea was initially it was as a punishment also. But for this person to rethink and actually rehabilitate themselves also, or like think, hey, I was doing this because there's time, nothing, no distractions, right? Lesser distractions. So they'll have to think it, or it will surely come up, right? So there was another saying in another place also, like it's not to put down animals or anything. I'm just telling. So animals, they are born, they eat, they sleep, they have like a next generation, telling it very politely, right? Then they die. That is the process, right? Even from a small insect that lives, or even a species that is like you cannot see with your naked eye. This seems the process, no? And but here, as human beings and all, we also like do the we are born, we eat a lot, no? And from our mouth and then the sensory doors and all, and then okay, like some people make a next generation, uh, and we sleep. Oh yeah, animals also sleep, okay, sorry. Like they eat, they sleep, they produce, and they are in fear, and they die, fighting, sorry. So ahara, nidra, baya, maithuna, yeah, those are the four things actually. uh, Ahara is food, nidra is sleeping. So we also sleep a lot of part of our day and life, right? As a early childhood, and then when we are getting older, you see elderly people, no, senior citizens and all, they sleep a lot. My father sleeps quite a lot. So, and surely you know this, right? And your mother, and when you're taking care of her and all, no, and then they produce, no, reproduce, and then animals, especially, they live in lot of fear. You see, like in the documentaries and all, even on the streets, and even in birds and all, they are always looking around. Even a squirrel, or how to say, little animals, they are, even if they are in a safe place, they are always on the lookout. In the bigger wilder places, it's always the life and death situation, no? But
Yeah.
here, like, we are humans, but it seems sometimes we eat, we sleep, we produce, and sometimes we are in a lot of fear of losing, fear of, like, something will happen, or some worries, no? So there's a bigger thing than that, right? We are intelligent beings, not that animals are not intelligent, but uh, we can do a lot of things in our life, and we don't have to just go to that same sequence sometimes for generations on. And you see the pattern. I remember a person also telling this, like, when you were small, your maybe the grandfather or father, the families, people would come and ask, like, what is the child doing? So you say preschool. Oh, very good, very good. No, if not, like, they make it a problem, or he should or she should be going to this according to now. And then school time, what is this child doing? And you have to tell them, no? And then in the so in different levels in life, they ask, if not, it becomes a problem, maybe for the whole community or family. Why is this person still not educated or not having a job? What then? Okay, after that, why not married now? Even if you're married, they ask, like, why not children now, right? Why don't you have a house? Why don't you have a car? And then, okay, like, do you have grandchildren? No. After, then later it turns switched into your their own children. What is this child doing now? And then, like that, the pattern just cycles. I'm not telling it's bad, but it's
No.
the same sequence, right?
Yes.
So, but we can do something more uh,
Sure.
than that. Just like that, wheels after wheels rotating, and people asking the same questions again. Huh? And it's just like the next generation is to ask the same questions
Yes.
and expect you to go through that same patterns, right? Which is quite good. But I'm telling, like, with all going on, we can do much more, so right?
Definitely. And this is actually something that I think about a lot and I'm very passionate about because I feel that, yeah, society has a lot of expectations of us. And we've talked about this we've touched upon this in one of our or more of our conversations, but we also get like socialized to uh, to think certain things. And it's almost like limitations that are put on us by society so that we're expected to, as you said, go to school, preschool, go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, this. And if you don't do that, it's like, well, what's wrong with you? But there's more than that. And life doesn't go as planned. I certainly got married. I had tried to have children. I couldn't have children. And then my husband died. And then it's like, well, what next? And I I know other people who have been in not similar well, I guess similar situations to me. They might have become divorced. Um, and yeah, it's perfectly okay for everybody to do what's right for them, and they don't have to follow a pattern. And basically, I think a lot of people, and this could be another topic for another a conversation, but a lot of people also really get stuck in the job that they have because they're earning money and they feel the pressure and they might have a loan that they have to repay or a mortgage. So for their house, and then the kids have to be educated and they might want them to be educated at certain, elite schools. And then so the two parents or one parent might just work and feel quite trapped. And what they talk about sometimes, my teachers, uh, is that talk about people living in quiet desperation. So they're really not happy, but they don't know how to get out of the situation that they're in. Yeah, which is really sad. And that's another issue that I actually coach people on.
Oh, wow.
So if people are wanting to speak to me about their dreams and goals and breaking out of perhaps a box or a trap or
Mm.
whatever, um, please feel free to contact me as well, because that's something that I have been through myself and that I can coach other people on. So
Mhm.
I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, sure, sure. It's so true. And some people get caught up in the profession maybe for decades and decades, right? Yeah,
Yes,
service like 30 years, 40 years, no service. And some professions it can go on and on. Even after they are retired, they start the same career in a private sector or someplace and then continue, no? Or start their private own thing. So yeah, it's so true. And yeah, in like the maybe even like in the time duration in the 1950s or like 2000 plus years, and there are like time durations like people start seeking a way out of this. It's like a you people want to break out of the bubble, no? So there are like spikes you can see in history also, like and for example, like in the like 2000 plus years from now, oh, like there was a big spike, and people are trying seeking methods out of it. Some people they try to categorize it as a two, and how to say like those days these common names that we are using now were not present, so they
okay,
just like categorized it like one people thought they could like overflood the sense doors and that would lead them to freedom. Actually, they were seeking freedom, liberation. Eh? So this was not like the how the people like tricky people trying to find their way to better opportunities. Maybe there was also no some of that, but actually they were thinking like this is one option. You feed the sensory doors and everything, all the pleasures, and there were like festivals after festivals. There are in many places now also, no, but this was like a legit thing. And the other extreme was like they used to self annihilate and put into the worst of scenarios and then try to see like they were thinking about the karmic factor and all of things, and self annihilation. So they used to live like they thought animals were innocent than human beings. So if you live like an animal, so they used to eat like an animal, live like an animal, defecate and all. So not no clothing or anything, no. So and they would sleep and everything, thinking that this or they should like use rituals and things with fire and all. So there were many sides that people still tried. Some they were honestly trying.
yes,
They wanted liberation, freedom from, because at some point we all feel it, right? It's not to say like life is horrible and it's I'm so sad or depressed. Not like that. In a way of understanding, like where does it end? End means like where is the fulfillment of life? Even if you have, there's always something else, right? There's the next thing. Maybe if you have some brand new phone or something, there'll be another model coming next year, maybe the best car and everything, like there'll be another model, right? Then people are like, oh, should I have it? No? The people who afford, even the people who cannot afford, they are thinking of this, right? So where does it end? No, there's no, it seems like endless. And we all like to keep our loved ones together. Nobody likes them departing, right? And we
yes,
don't want nobody like who's like troublesome or harassing to approach us. We want to be protected, right? All the time, forever even.
yes,
And they never get sick, never get old, because that's why all these treatments or whatever things are there, right? They do plastic surgery and all. It's not a pleasant thing. No, they have to cut themselves up and do they do a lot of things, right? Uh,
yes,
and so and it seems like death and all, it's not avoidable. At some time maybe you're 100, or something, but still it comes, right? So there should be a way like we can free ourselves. So in a way, like if we can get out or free ourselves from the energy or like what is happening, for example, like the breath, we whatever we have, like we can have food, we can have water, but breath, if there's a subtle delay, we can die, right? So we understand like so we are relying on it. Food water we are definitely relying, food we are relying on it, and then comes the other things, right? But so you see, like, because of the reason that it sustains it and it's fragile, we cannot sustain on it if there's a sign loss of it. So that's why some people try to seek even more higher states, to unify with God, or like Shuddhatman, or Brahman, no? Anything like state, like even enlightenment, right? So if he can break free from uh, so this kind of worldly scenario with the energies, because energies are created, uh, but as they arise, they have to perish. That's why we eat, we drink water, we have to breathe again and again, no? If not, like, we fall into trouble. So those are the very basics, right? And essentials. So then, if we can free ourselves and from that scenario, so there was one ancient master. It will be a bit harsh to say this, but I think it has sense. Uh, but what to do, right? Reality is reality, right? Uh, Even if it's bitter. So he said, like, there are females for sure. I'm just recalling the ones that come to my mind now. He said, like, we are born not to be born again. So we are born not to be born again, because with birth, all the things come. Some people think of like ending it all, but it doesn't end with life, no? Then it's a great escape, no? You end up ending life doesn't resolve things, right? It makes a mess of things, no? And but the opposite process is, if there was a process that can people celebrate life, which is a good thing, but it comes with a package of other things, right? For anybody in any society, like, for example, simple like getting elderly, or old, right? And it's not a pleasant experience, right? And then, how to say, like, sicknesses from small days we have, huh? And then, and what about the mental and physical things we have to face? Even in the richest societies and all, there are so many things, right? Behind closed doors or behind closed walls, no? So, and as coaches, we meet these kind of people in lots of places and areas. So, so that's why, like, people are seeking something more than what we already have, or what we are already doing now. What surely Islam also speaks of this, right?
It does. And so it talks about ascending towards God.
Mhm.
So, and what I've been reflecting on this week, I've been watching a series of YouTube videos. There's an institute called Yaqeen Institute. It's YAQEEN in America. And they have created a series of, I think, maybe 29 or 30 very short videos, maybe about 13 minutes, and daily videos, and the videos build upon each other, and it's very fascinating. What it talks about is the world after this world. So in Islam, they say, like, we've got this world, and then well, first of all, we were, before we were born, we were something. So we've got before we were born, we've got this life, then we've got the next area that we're in, which in Arabic they call the barzakh, and that's what this series is about. And then we've got either heaven or hell,
Mhm.
depending on our deeds, our character, a whole lot of things, whether we'll basically, had more good deeds than bad deeds, or whether we did a lot of sins knowingly, intentionally harming people. So, this series, yeah. So, what I'm wanting to share is that, uh, so for some people, they may look towards an afterlife.
Mhm.
So, and in terms of reflecting upon this and watching this series, I've been thinking a lot about what happens, when we die, and
Mhm.
not in a morbid way, but in a way to enrich my own life, my own habits, my own behaviors, so that when I do leave, when my soul leaves my body, that potentially I can say, I've done a good job and be happy with how I've lived my life, and for God to be ultimately pleased with me. So I think that's a way of looking at freedom as well. And perhaps people well, certainly through different practices, meditation, back to meditation again. I feel that there's a sense of freedom that comes with meditation because we can focus on our breath, or we can focus on something else, a guided meditation, or you talk about loving kindness. So it allows us to sort of escape from our reality for a while, and I think that also in terms of that freedom that everybody looks for at some stage of their life in different ways. And that's potentially where addictions come into it, because people are wanting to escape from their reality. So they escape through alcohol, or recreational drugs, or gambling, or whatever they choose, whatever way they choose to try and find that freedom.
Yeah, yeah, so true.
Mm.
And people feel it, at some point, at some moment,
Yeah,
even through the pressure of like work environment or even the family sometimes,
sure.
because like there are so many duties, so many things, bills to pay, and then they want, even as a teenager, right? That's why sometimes they seek some different way, which is sometimes can be very bad or very harmful for them and everybody, drugs or something like that, or they are caught up in this pressured environment. That's why some teenagers and all they stick to games. Even elders, no, like adults, like they are these big grown people, like still playing video games, no, and just to get the sometimes I know some people also, they when they ask, like when you ask them like or talk to them, they say this is the way, I don't do anything else. I'm not drinking, I'm not smoking, I'm not aggressive, nothing. But this is the way I put out my anger or frustration. So
Yeah,
yeah, they go to that all these things, and you do all these like big speakers and everything, and yeah. So even their dog is like he's always next to this person, and even if it's a lightning strike, now it doesn't. It has a deaf ear or something.
yeah.
After all these sounds, and it's
Mm.
like so. Yeah, that's the way like they put out their frustrations or anger. So, but at some point, we all feel this or have this urge of like seeking something more, right? Which is
Yeah.
a good thing if it's focused in a very positive way.
Yeah, I think it can be very productive if it's focused in the right way, and if we have self-awareness about it, and we can channel it, yeah, as you say, focusing
Mhm.
it in the right way.
And
Yeah,
some places they teach us like how to look in what is our mind, what is our body, and then yeah, in some ancient teachings and all, it says like the world we create is from our sensory doors. And I saw like some like from some ancient Asian traditions and all. Look, East Asian, no? Yeah. So they say like what you are thinking is a reflection of your. What you see is a thinking of your own thinking. What you see is a reflection of your own thinking.
yes.
So likewise, like we create the world we are in, and there are so many stories. Also, like there's a nice story of a little duckling. Uh, Maybe you heard, or maybe I told it also before. It's been a very tricky story.
Haven't
I
heard
know
that
the answer, so I'll act like I'm very wise or something.
before.
So there's a glass bottle, no, like a glass bottle with a, how to say, like a small, uh, uh like more maybe more taller, and then it is just example and not animal cruelty or anything. So
Okay,
a duckling is put into that bottle, and the answer is like my it's totally different answer. So they say these ducklings are grew. It's an example, no? In the bottle. So this bottle, like it covers now the whole bottle, the entire bottle, no? It starts growing, right? And then now it's like really stuck and wants to break free or come out of the bottle. But the mouth and everything is of the bottle is so narrow, right? So they say you cannot break the bottle or harm the duck. Uh, How can you free the duck from the bottle? You heard this before? Uh, I have heard it and I told it a couple of times, and I know the answer. That's why I also didn't know at first. So
How do
yeah,
you free
so,
the duckling?
eh?
How do you free the duckling?
Yeah, the answer is like a quite opposite answer we would imagine. It says the duckling was never inside the bottle.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like it was maybe in the opposite side or something. But it doesn't say that even. It says the duckling was never inside the bottle. So it always could escape or be free. So we put ourselves into a situation and we get trapped inside. It could be a worldly scenario, it could be a social background, a family situation, or a relationship, or job opportunity, anything, or a problematic situation, abuse, or anything. It can happen, no? But there is a possibility in most scenarios we can go, can walk away, or we can find another option, but we get so stuck and caught up in there. So the duckling was never inside actually the bottle because
yes,
it's separate, right? So
yeah.
we can always separate the problem and uh, ourselves from that thing. So worldly scenario is also as such, or like this what we call existence is also like that. But as long as we are stuck in it, we tend to be there. We try to, how to say, find ways of coming out of it, but we seem to be stuck. But later, when you understand these were two different things, uh, we always can be free. So that is in a way like we can talk why are we here even, no? It's
That's
interesting, no? The answer, no? I also didn't think that I
really,
heard it.
it's really interesting. And I was reading something a little bit earlier that I can relate to with that as
Sure,
well.
sure.
So yes, and it's about basically about separating ourselves from if we've had experiences in our childhood, just say childhood trauma,
Hmm.
and it might have come from one of our parents. And I was reading about this, and what the person was saying was that the person that you experienced the trauma through, just say you were abused emotionally, and you had a parent that would tell you off all the time or yell, and what happens is that we sort of take on their energy, their perhaps their low self-esteem, their guilt, their shame about whatever has happened to them. Perhaps they've had past trauma. But what this person was saying was that it's actually not ours. So we want to separate ourselves from it and say that, we're actually quite separate and let it go. And that
Hmm.
reminds me of that, what you've just told me about the story where the duckling was never in the bottle. And it's like the abuse or trauma was never actually about you, it was about the other person. So
Hmm.
quite separate. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, so true. Even if we mix milk and water, they separate it, no? Even
yeah.
mud and water, they separate. Even if
Yep.
you mix cement and water, it separates afterwards, right? If it's
Okay.
like very watery, it separates.
Yeah.
Like you can see the sediment, the cement sediment. Even if
Mm,
you make a concrete, which seems like one of the most hardest things, later you can crack it and take the steel separate. Not exactly those same ingredients, but maybe the pebble or the small rocks, or then or the steel. People actually do that even. So, so even the more solids of things or the other lesser, even if you mix oil and water, they also separate, right? So
yeah.
likewise, though we think even our fabric, no, of our clothing, it's so intertwined. but we can take a pin or something and slowly remove it, right? Because they are actually not. It seems like, yeah, and it's like when they are close to each other, it seems strong, right?
Mm.
Not doesn't tear apart. But actually, you can take and you can remove like fiber by fiber, right? It's
Yep.
amazing, no? So like everything is like that, right? Even the
Mhm.
concrete or anything, it seems so intertwined and interlinked that it's not freeable or like we cannot break free. But
Yes,
it is possible, right?
it is.
Yeah, it
Mm.
is possible.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've had a wonderful
Yeah,
discussion.
sure. No?
I knew that there was more to talk about, and I'm very pleased that you suggested that we have a second session or a
Sure.
part two or diving deeper, because we really have dived deeper into this topic, and I've really enjoyed our conversation, as I always do. So thank you very much for your time and your wisdom
Oh, no
and
problem. We share, right?
your skills.
Yeah.
And I really pray that it's of benefit to whomever listens to this video. And just thank you.
No,
That's
thank you
what
so
I would
much.
like
Yeah.
to say.
And thank you so much, Anthea, for your experiences, the wisdom and organization and everything. So please be everybody to contact either Anthea or me, and you can see the details on in our like the post as well as the video. So and what we are doing, and Anthea has like wonderful products also if somebody's interested. So product means this is not like an advertisement, but I'm just telling they look so healthy, natural, not organic, sorry, not how to say genetically modified, but organic, sorry. And then it seems very healthy. So you can contact for those things also. And thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure. And especially Anthea and everybody, have a beautiful and a wonderful time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanji. Thank you, everybody.